We gonna touch base with this and see how bad it's gotten. We're not gonna spend too much time on this. We got to touch base with it, and we'll move on after this.
Conservatives across the country were completely convinced that then President Obama was secretly preparing to impose martial law. It was a wild and crazy conspiracy theory. And that belief was prompted by the fact that 10 years ago today,
Let me see, what else do we have? Oh, we already did this. That's a minute 30. Okay.
the U.S. military was a few weeks into a military exercise called Jade Helm. Now, what Jade Helm actually 10 years ago, and that belief was that happened to take place across Texas, New Mexico, California, and other southwestern states.
Crackdown.
But because Barack Obama was president, conspiracy theorists seized on the fact that the military was going to be in Texas, again, doing these exercises, as proof that a hostile takeover was planned, that this was all about a hostile takeover. Now, rather than calm that completely...
even if Trump moved all these people to Washington, D.C., where the White House is, and decided to kick out all these homeless people and fortify his position, why wouldn't he? I mean, if he's been shot at twice now. Hell, one of the people that was at his rally fucking died. I would do the same thing. Shit. Like, he's got every reason to be scared. Hell, I'd be scared too.
Unfounded conspiracy.
One of the bullets grazed his ear.
Conservatives fanned the flames. Republican Senator Ted Cruz said he understood the reason for concern because, quote, the federal government has not demonstrated itself to be trustworthy in this administration. He was, of course, talking about the Obama administration. Other Republicans insisted that the map of the fictitious exercise be changed so that Texas wasn't labeled as hostile. Again, this was just a military training exercise, something that is quite standard, that all the branches of our military participate
I guarantee you, they have done so many training exercises where Texas took over its own statehood and turned itself into a continent. And then they pre-planned for it and pre-planned for individual states taking over. And when you've got all the taxpayer money and time to burn and no wars ongoing, let's be honest here. We got to find something to do, right?
But Texas,
that money's not going to what it needs to go to.
Governor at the time, who, believe it or not, was still Greg Abbott. Man, that guy's been around. That is fast forward to today.
It's easy. President Trump is showing bold and strong leadership.
Hopefully, this is a harbinger of what we see in these liberally run cities
2020, 2019.
Across the country. We need to send in the troops, which is exactly what we're doing.
We're going to support this. We're going to support doing this in other cities if it works out in Washington, D.C.
I'm going to double down on this. A lot of people don't like that I'm doubling down on this. Letting these homeless people stay where they're at and not seek help, or not forcing them to seek help, is just a bad thing. I think that this is long overdue, and I feel like the fact that they are getting forced to either seek help by going to addiction help places or to a homeless shelter is a great start. And then Putin mentioned something yesterday that I'll bring up right now. He's like, well, what if there's not enough room in the centers? Well, then you can just bus them to a further away center, like another homeless shelter. There's plenty of homeless shelters. And if they don't want to go to the homeless shelter and they don't want to get help at an addiction relief center, then they can go to jail. Between those three options, there's plenty of, you do realize that these addiction relief centers, they have beds for these people. They have rooms because they're going to be going through withdrawals. I think it's a great idea. But not addressing and fixing this problem is not helping anybody in this situation. It's not. It's more a matter of that this is long overdue. You can't sit here and say that them being homeless is a good thing. It sucks. It does. Maybe this is the first step that he could be taking in addressing this problem. Whenever they get all the numbers back, they could be like, okay, what can we do to fix this? This is just the first step in a huge problem. It's a massive problem that's not going to be solved overnight. Maybe they're trying to get actual numbers on the books to understand what they need to do, if it's buying houses or adding more affordable housing or passing bills that makes housing more affordable or who knows what. But if it's a solid majority, like a huge number that just keeps reoccurring and reoccurring and reoccurring, maybe this is the first step in addressing this massive problem. And it's a huge problem. But not doing anything is not an option. Something obviously has to be done.
See, I think that this is an experiment that's probably needed in a lot of the Democrat-run cities in America.
Do they even have a belief system? I ask myself often. I mean, Republicans aren't just okay with Trump using the military these days to take over the nation's capital, a city, by the way, where they all spend a fair amount of time as members of Congress, of course. They want this experiment repeated in cities run by Democrats all over the country. That's the whole plan. That's the goal. Go home fascists and read the Constitution at a bizarre mix of federal law enforcement officers.
It's crazy that they say read the Constitution, but these people are actively breaking the law by camping on private and public property. You can't just set up a tent and camp wherever you please. Like, that's not how the world works. You can't just do that. It's illegal to be vagrant. You can't just do that, man. That's public property. A park is public property for it to be a park. It's for people that have kids and dogs and stuff to go there and enjoy the park. And you've got all these people setting up rust bases there. You can't have that. That's not okay. Do I think this could have been handled differently? Sure. If you've got a better idea, instead of saying, oh, well, you know, this is bad, well, why don't you come up with a better option? If you can come up with a better option, then go for it. I can tell you right now, instead of sending $80 million overseas to some fucking country so they can make bombs, or bussing in a whole bunch of fucking people from a different country and giving them free places to stay in New York with fucking food and stuff, well, why don't we set some of these people up that are homeless? Okay, like, instead of sitting there congregating together in front of the White House and all these places to protest, why don't you guys let these people open to your homes? Because you know they're going to steal stuff. Why don't you people give these people some money and let them stay and pop up tents in your backyard? Why don't you rally together and collect a bunch of money and buy these people homes? Instead of sitting there starting riots and doing all this crazy shit. You really want to make change, then you're going to have to do it yourself.
Local police who are now under Trump's control. Those officers had set up a checkpoint where for about 2 hours last night, they stopped dozens of cars and detained at least 2 people. Federal agents reportedly stopping cars for things as minor as seatbelt violations and broken.
Big surprise if you've got a seatbelt and you're not wearing your seatbelt and you've got a broken taillight and a cop sees you, you get pulled over and you get a ticket. Big fucking surprise, I know. What? They're enforcing the law? Oh! What is wrong with these people?
Taillights, not sure that's really cracking down on crime. And then asking drivers, of course, about their immigration status, which is probably likely what this is all about. Now, some bystanders reportedly ran into a CVS to quickly make signs, warning others that ICE was ahead and directing drivers to turn left to avoid the checkpoint. You can see one of the signs there they're holding.
I think that's illegal. I don't think you can do that.
A group of passengers in a rideshare vehicle rolled down their windows and shouted to the crowd, letting them know the questions law enforcement was asking their driver so that the crowd could then warn others who were coming behind them. Someone else blared Vanilla Ice's classic song, Ice Ice Baby, A+ points for creativity from the...
Ugh. Lord have mercy. This is the reason why the country's in fucking turmoil right here.